With Christmas just around the corner, I wanted to share 20 different gift ideas that I think would be great for woodworkers or DIYers in your life. Now, these are all things that I feel like that every time that I use them, I'm like, I'm so glad that I've got this tool. And I'm also going to throw in a few things that are not even tool related, but there's just a few things that I just love just kind of in everyday life that I wanted to share with you as well. Now, I'm going to fire through all of these really quickly. I'm not going to get bogged down in a bunch of details, but I will put links to all of them down in the description below so you can do a little more research if you want to. Let's get started. First up, we got the Dowlet 1000. Now, this is a dowel jig, but it's not just any old dowel jig. Instead, it is a self-centering dowel jig. It's got this turn here on the side, and we can actually take a workpiece, put it on here, and then we will crank this down. And as we do it, it brings both sides in, lines it up perfectly center on the workpiece. And then we've got multiple holes here that we can use for different sizes of dowels. This thing works very, very well. It's about 50 bucks. Usually has a shipping price attached to it as well on Amazon. So usually about 57, 58 bucks is what it's going to cost you to bring it home. Next up, we've got the 3M respirator. Now, here's the thing. Respirator, it may not seem very fun, but for a woodworker, especially if they're spraying paints or varnishes or anything like this, just understand that it's a lifesaver, literally. So anything like that is very harmful for our lungs. And so if you can find out ahead of time, hey, do they have something like this? If they don't, pick them up one. This is a great gift idea. You can put different filters on these, so it may not come with a filter. So, you know, and because mainly you need different filters for different things. If you're dealing with sawdust, it's going to be one kind of a filter. If you're dealing with a varnish or a paint, that's going to be a different kind of a filter. So various filters can attach to these. It runs about 30 bucks or so on Amazon. I would definitely give this some consideration. As far as size is concerned, I've got a pretty big melon and this is a medium, so I don't know if that helps. Next up, we've got the Nipix Cobra pliers. Now, these are basically a small channel lock plier and they make different sizes, but this is the small, I believe it's the 6-inch size, and these are the ones that I use the most for everything. I've got a pair here that I have at the house. I also do telecom for my day job, and I have a pair there and I use them again all the time. They come in so handy. They're just the right size for so many different jobs. And the thing that I love is they lock in place. So you've got a knob there and then they clip in place and they will not slide around like a normal channel lock. They're locked until you move them again. They cost about $32 and they are worth every single penny. Next up, we've got the Bosch self-centering crossline laser. Now, this is a more of a budget style, I would say, but the thing is, this works very, very well for just kind of average use. Now, I don't hang drywall for a living or anything like this, but occasionally I have hung some drywall and I need something like this. My wife also uses it a lot for hanging up pictures and different things on the wall. It's very handy for that. You can put, it's got a 1/4-inch thread down here on the bottom. You can actually put this on a tripod. Works very well for that. Runs about $41 or $42. And I love this. Again, it puts a crosshatch style laser up on your wall. So you have a vertical and a horizontal laser. Gives you kind of two different reference points there. Very, very handy. Next, we've got the Craig 3-inch Auto Max clamp. Now, this adjusts, basically, the reason it's called Auto Max is because it adjusts depending upon the thickness of the material. It doesn't really matter. You don't have to do a lot of adjustments. Now, there is a small adjustment here, but it's not like a normal clamp. So if I clamp this down here, it's going to clamp down tight just on itself. But I can take a workpiece and I clamp down and it's the same thing, only it automatically adjusts for how strong that it needs to hold down. And that is the most handiest thing on the planet because there's just lots of times when I don't want to fiddle with adjusting some kind of a thumb screw. I just need to grab this and clamp something down. Runs about 35 bucks and it is definitely worth it. For the longest time, I always cheaped out on hammers and I would always just use a cheap claw hammer from Harbor Freight. Ended up, my boys left it out in the yard one day because they'd been hammering in the stakes for the trampoline or something. And it got set out there and it got rained on and it got rusty and nasty. And then I eventually got a better hammer. This is a 22-ounce Estwing. I'm going to say Estwing. East Wing. It's one of those, I don't know which. To me, if it's East Wing, it ought to have an A in it, but it doesn't. Either way, it doesn't really matter. This is a hammer that doesn't have the waffle pattern here on the head. It's just a smooth head. But this is a great hammer. And so I would say spend a little bit of time, spend a little bit of money, and get a better hammer. This thing runs about 30 or 32 bucks. You can also pick these up at Lowe's or Home Depot as well. One of the most expensive items that is going to be on this list is this 20 volt DeWalt work light. Now this is a good sized light, and I didn't buy this for a long time because it's pretty expensive. When I bought it, it was 200 bucks. It's now down to about 165 bucks or so. I should have bought it way before I did, because all the stuff that I do in the house, the remodeling stuff, this thing has come in so handy, because a lot of times when I'm working on things, I have to kill the power to something or whatever, and then I'm stuck in a room with no light. Well, this is great because I can just take this and set it up and it will illuminate the entire room. It also has a hanger down here on the bottom, and this hanger, what it allows you to do is pull it out, and now we can turn it upside down. We can hang this up. We could, a lot of times, like when I was remodeling our bathroom, I would just hang it. I just took a board and just shot it across a couple of studs, and then I just hung it up like this. Used it that way quite a bit too. It's very handy. Again, like I said, one of the most expensive things on the list, but I cannot stress how handy this is, and the prices come down, so that's also a huge plus. Now, if they're not a DeWalt person, but they're a Milwaukee person, Milwaukee makes one as well that's just about the same size. I actually use it for my day job at work. It's honestly probably a better light for the only reason because it's also AC powered. So you can take an extension cord and plug into it if you run out of batteries. So in my opinion, that's what DeWalt should have done on this, and they didn't. The Milwaukee is just a step better because of that versatility, in my opinion. And price-wise, it also runs around that $150 price point. Next up, we've got the Craig setup blocks. Now, these are basically attached to my table saw all the time. I keep them over there because that's what I use them for most of the time. And these are made out of aluminum, and they go from 1/8 of an inch. So that's what this little step here is. We've got it right here as well, this recess. So they're 1/8 of an inch all the way to 1/2 inch. And I cannot stress how necessary these are. So if this woodworker in your life does not have these, you need something like this. And for some reason, Craig has kind of made these a little bit elusive to find anymore. And I'm not certain if they just haven't quit making them or what the deal is. But I did find that PowerTech makes them as well. So they look almost identical to them. The only difference is they're throwing in a digital angle gauge with it as well. So it's about 52 bucks for this same setup. It's got a little case, but it also comes with a digital angle gauge. I'll put a link to that down in the description below if that's something you're interested in. Next up, we've got the DeWalt 20 volt cordless router. This thing is fantastic. I actually got this as a gift from my parents a couple of years ago, and I had no idea what I was missing. Now I have a big DeWalt plunge router, but it's electric, and I've also got a Bosch Colt. It's a palm router, and it's electric. Both of those are great routers, but the flexibility that you get with not having to deal with a cord is really, really handy. Really, really nice. The other thing that I like is that when I turn this on and then I turn it off, it stops immediately when I shut it off. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So I love that quick shut off. A lot of them still spin until they finally just kind of stop. So I love that. I also love just the way that you adjust this. You've just got a collar here, and then you just twist this, and this moves your depth and your bit up and down as you make those adjustments, and then you just lock it back down. It's very simple. It runs about 130 bucks usually without any kind of a battery or anything, but a lot of times you can catch these at Home Depot. They'll be running some deals where maybe you can get this with a battery. So just kind of watch for that. It's a very, very handy item. Next up, we've got the Grabber Pro from Milescraft. Now, this is essentially a push block, but it's designed to help make everything a lot safer whenever you're pushing pieces on there, because I've got the ability to push this. I can run my blade through this center piece here. Everything about this makes running the table saw so much safer, and usually all for about $30 or $40 depending upon the sale. Right now, I saw that their Black Friday sale is $29. That's a steal for this. Yes, Microjig makes one, but I've actually done a comparison video showing the two of these, and I like this one better. I think it's a better tool. So for $29 right now, it's definitely a steal, but even if it's $30, $35, $39, still definitely worth picking up because there is no substitute for safety when you're running a table saw. Just kind of a generic suggestion is just simply batteries for different kinds of tools. If you've got a woodworker in your life, a DIYer in your life, find out what kind of a platform that they're on, whether it's Ryobi, doesn't matter if it's Rigid, Milwaukee, DeWalt, doesn't matter. Find out what they're on. I promise you, you can get batteries for them and they're going to thank you. And here's why. Batteries are stinking expensive. So you can never have enough of them. And I don't know, for me, I hate buying them. And so I will just kind of limp by and limp by and limp by a lot of times until I finally have to go buy some or until I can find like a kit that they're throwing in a couple of batteries for free. So again, anytime that you can get a woodworker or DIYer in your life some batteries, they will thank you, I promise you. Speaking of batteries, what should have been one of the dumbest gifts that I was ever given actually ended up being something that I love, and this is a battery daddy. Now, I would have never guessed this, but this is really handy. I got this several years ago as a gift, and it was one of those things that you're like, as seen on TV, great, thanks. And then you don't realize just how nice it is to be able to put all your batteries in here and be done with it. And now we don't have things rolling around the junk drawer. We don't have a bunch of batteries in there rolling around for nothing anymore. This is extremely handy, and I did not know that I would love this as much as I do, and I just feel weird even saying that, so I'm done with that. Next is the Fortress 1-gallon air compressor. Now, this air compressor is from Harbor Freight. You may have seen it if you've ever been into Harbor Freight. This thing is super light. I want to say it's like 28 pounds, and I'm telling you, I've wanted to get this for a long time, and we were doing a bunch of work upstairs, and I just got tired of dragging the other air compressor up there. Most of my nail guns and stuff are all still pneumatic, and so because I don't have battery powered for that stuff, I still have to run air up there. This makes all of that very simple. It runs all my nail guns just fine, my finish nailers and stuff. I have zero issues. I don't really have a link for this, but I will just, put the Harbor Freight website up for it. I saw that the Black Friday sale for it's $119, which is a steal. I think I paid around $150 for it when I got it. Again, pick one of these up. This is the 1-gallon Fortress air compressor from Harbor Freight. It's great. It's also super quiet. Next up, we've got the Franklin Stud Finder. This is where I enter in a stud finder joke and I put it, never mind. Anyway, this is by far the best stud finder that money can buy. I've tried several different ones, and if you're looking for one that is electronic, it doesn't get any simpler than this. Now, it has a bunch of different little LEDs across here, and so it will actually show you when you're going across the stud, it will actually light up the whole thing so that you know exactly where both edges of the stud are. And this thing almost never lies to me, and a lot of those other styles do. I cannot stress how good this is. I use this all the time. It's usually about 50 or 60 bucks, and it's worth every dime. If you got a woodworker in your life and they're kind of bougie, this little guy right here may fit the bill as the perfect gift for them. Find out if they've got a Woodpecker's Delve Square. This is a 3.5-inch Delve Square, and it is fantastic. Now, a lot of people think they're too high. 60 or 70 bucks for this guy. It's definitely not cheap, but it is a very, very accurate square. You've also got all your little measurements here that you can drop a pencil lead into. You've got a 1/4 inch offset here, a 3/8 inch offset over here. It's got a lot of different features on this. It's not just a basic square. So again, they will greatly appreciate this. Again, this is not something you can pick up on Amazon, but I'll put the Woodpeckers link up if it's something that you're interested in. Next up, we've got the countersink bits from Amana, or Amana. I'm not sure which way you say that, but these are kind of expensive. They're about $40 or $45 a piece, but in my opinion, they're probably the best on the market. They do not mar your workpiece, and they also have a pilot bit as well as the countersink bit. They do all of the things in one fell swoop. These are extremely, extremely nice. And so if you've got a woodworker, this is kind of one of those finer things in life thing again that wants some really, really good countersink bits. You can look into these. Again, they're going to come as about $40 or $45 for one. This one here is a 3/32 is the bit that's here on this one. And then this one is the 5/32 bit for the pilot bit on that one. Just to kind of give you some kind of an idea of sizes. I use the 3/32 the most. I use it all the time. So definitely check these out. Next up is the Milwaukee electric screwdriver. Now, this just looks like a small 12-volt drill, but it's kind of different. It's like a drill and an impact kind of had a baby a little bit. So you've got a clutch here, just like you would with a drill, but then it chucks up the way that an impact chucks up. So you don't have to use a key or tighten this up or anything like that. It just has a regular chuck for your bits. But the thing that I love is that it's a lot slower speed, so you have a lot more control when it comes to this. So this is not going to be super powerful, but this is great for those more delicate tasks when you don't want to just sit there and be cranking a screwdriver all day long, but a drill or an impact might be just a little bit too much. So typically you can catch these on sale at Home Depot for some various prices. I know that the Amazon link that I will share below has it with a battery for about $99. It's very, very handy. Now, if the woodworker or the DIYer in your life doesn't use Milwaukee, anything in this same size range, the 12-volt stuff that is basically kind of marketed as an electric screwdriver, is probably going to be very similar. And they're going to be very grateful for this. Again, this is one of those things that I didn't really realize how important it was that I had it until I bought it. And we use this for so many tasks around the house. My wife uses it a lot around the house for different things, so she doesn't have to mess with an impact or a drill. Now, I told you I was going to have a few things that had nothing to do with woodworking or DIY, and this is one of them. So this is actually a big spatula from Mercer is the name of the brand. Now, what's so special about this? Well, I like to smoke and to cook meat out on my grill, and one of the things that I love to do also is to make smash burgers when I'm out there cooking on the grill. And I didn't really want to buy a separate burger press and a separate spatula. I wanted something that would kind of do it all in one, and this fits the bill perfect. If you try to smash a burger with a regular spatula, you're probably going to break something, and honestly, most spatulas are just not big enough to do that. The thing that I love about this is it's 5x6, super heavy duty, like you are not going to break this spatula, and it fits the bill for everything. It's about 40 bucks, so it's not cheap, but it's really, really good. It's also got all three edges here are beveled so that you can scoop and turn and do anything. Doesn't matter where you're doing that from, you're able to do that very, very easily. This is super handy. Check it out. I cannot stress enough how much I enjoy this thing. Now, when I'm not out here in the shop, one of the things that I love is to be comfy and cozy. And these are moccasin slippers from LL Bean. I got these for Christmas a few years ago, and man, do I love these. These are super warm, super soft, super comfortable. They're about 89 bucks usually, but my wife tells me that typically you can find a 20% off deal a lot of times on these. Any person in your life that just wants to be kind of cozy when they're not working will appreciate these. They also make some that don't look like moccasins. They're just more of a slipper, so they don't have these leather straps and stuff on the front. Again, I don't really have an affiliate link for this. I will just throw the LL Bean website down there. But I love these. Definitely check these out if you're looking for a gift. You can't go wrong with these. These are so nice. Next up is one of my favorite new items, and this is the Chef IQ Smart Wireless Meat Thermometer. It's a lot to say, but this thing does a lot. So this is a probe here that charges on this base, and this is the meat thermometer probe. And it charges the probe, but then the base itself charges with USB-C. And this thing is great. So it operates on Wi-Fi so that I don't have to deal with any kind of Bluetooth connectivity. I don't have to worry about, oh, I can only get so far away from my smoker. I can leave the house and check the temp on the pork butt because I'm connected up to Wi-Fi to the hub on this. Works fantastic. I love that about it. The only thing that is a little bit of an issue is that this probe, if I wrap something in tinfoil and I cover this probe up, sometimes it has a hard time talking to the hub. So I will typically leave this part kind of sticking out of the tinfoil if I can, and that tends to kind of help it quite a bit. Now, this thing runs about 80 bucks. but I will tell you that if you've got somebody in your life that does a lot of smoking meat or anything like that, this is going to be a really, really great Christmas gift idea, in my opinion. It's very unique, especially if they're kind of techie. They're going to love something like this. Another quick gift idea that I wanted to throw in that is kind of unconventional and maybe something you don't think about all the time. And here it is. It's just simply magazine subscriptions. Listen, I know we all live in a digital world, but the thing is, I kind of hate reading magazines online. Maybe that's just me. I'm just kind of old in that way. But I prefer to have a physical magazine. And so I always encourage people, don't forget that magazines are still a thing, because like, this is a family handyman. My wife does HGTV. I like to cook. So there's Cook's Country. There's tons of options out there, and you can get a lot of times these for like a year. You can get them anywhere from like $8 to like $16 for a year subscription to any of these magazines. There's tons of magazines out there. So I actually do these for gifts for different people as well. I just feel like that, you know, as Cousin Eddie said, it's kind of the gift that keeps on giving all year long. But I really do think that these are kind of an underrated gift, because I know I love every time one of them shows up in the mail. It just kind of gives me something different to kind of a break from this whole digital world that I feel like that we live in anymore. So that's just something that I wanted to throw in there. Now, if you've been watching this video and you're like, you know what, this is all well and good, but my family and I, we draw names and I got to keep it under 20 bucks. Well, you're in luck, because my next video that's queued up, it's 20 gifts under 20 bucks. Be sure and check it out.